Okay, boss. Okay. So today we're going to start with the database. We will start with initially learning about HANA database, because HANA is a database, right? We need to learn about or creating about all the database artifacts in HANA. Like say, how do we create schema? How do we create table? How do we create views, sequences, triggers, procedures? All this. So we're going to focus more on database first. Then we'll get on to modeling, then provisioning, then reporting, like that. Okay. So now we're going to focus on the database first. Okay. So basically, when you say database, you're going to deal with all the database artifacts like schema, tables, synonyms, database views, triggers, all this stuff. Yeah. So when you want to create these, or when you basically use this knowledge when you want to build a database. Let's say you want to develop some application on top of HANA. So when you want to develop an application, you basically go about creating the application database first. Like so you create schema, you decide how many tables you want, how the tables are going to be linked up. If so, table is the only one which will have the data persistency, means which actually physically stores your database. So when you got to create these objects in SAP HANA, we have two options. Either you can create with UI or either you can use SQL, structured query language. We can leverage SQL to create these database objects, or we can also go with what? UI. There might be some exceptions. Let's say if you look at trigger, you may not have UI. You have to go with SQL. But everything can be done with SQL. There are some majority of the options available with UI also. User interface is also available. Okay. So when it comes to creating these database objects, we'll be using SQL. Within a structured query language, we'll have different type of statements. So SQL is all about SQL statements, right? We'll have DML, we'll have DDL, data definition language statements, we'll have DML, data manipulation statements, all this. But here, when it comes to creating of database objects, we are mainly focused on DML. When I said DML, sorry, DDL, data definition language statements. More like create table, create view, alter view, drop, yeah. So these kind of statements would be mainly we deal with this. Let's say I don't know anything about SQL. Basically, you need to find out which SQL statement should I use. Let's say I want to create a table. I need to find out which SQL statement should I use, and that would have certain syntax. Every statement would have its own syntax. Now, where do I get that information? So you do this. I have this, but so how do you get this? Is like just get into help.sap.com. Okay, and then click on this menu. What is technology platform? So I'm trying to find out a place where I can find the document on detailed SQL statements. Okay, technology platform. Then click in the left hand side, select your option SAP platform. Okay. Now scroll down, then you get this option SAP platform core. Okay, core database. Now within this core, use this link here, references. Okay, use the link references. When you get to see reference, you see lots of PDF documents. One is specific to each. One is for SQL statements. One is for SQL scripting. One is for Java scripting. One is for data APIs, and you get one is for library, predictive analytics library, and business function library, R integration. You have lots of reference documents. Okay. Now we are focusing on this one, SAP and SQL and what systems view. Just click this link to get your PDF first. Okay, that is what the PDF I'm referring here. Okay, this is the PDF first. Okay, this is my PDF here. Okay, and we can use this links. You see lots of references, all fine. You see the content. They give about first SQL introduction, data types, operators, predicates. Then you'll have different type of functions. Then you get into what? SQL statements, which will have DDL, sorry, data definition language statements, DML, procedural statements, all this. But now, when we are dealing with about building the database, we are majorly focused on DDL. Then we'll get on to DML, where we want to manipulate your data within the table. Okay. So within DDL, you'll have all these statements, like say alter full text index, alter table. Then you see all these options: create schema, create sequence, create table, trigger, drop. You see all this. So majorly about three major things. One is about creating the database object will be with create. So you want to create a table, it's a create table. You want to create a view, you'll have a statement called create view. You want to create a procedure, you'll have create procedure. It's always like that. And then you want to alter that object, you'll say alter table. You'll use alter basically keyword for altering the existing definition of the object. And create is for creating that object. And then drop is for deleting that object. With see, DDL mainly deals with three things: creating of the object, changing the definition of that object, and dropping it. So it will be always about create, alter, and then drop. These are the three main statements. So let's say you want to create a table, then it will be create table. You want to create a view, then it will be create view. You want to create a procedure, then it will be create procedure. So let's say I want to create a table. What I'll do. For example, there's a link. There's a link. It's like hyperlink. Just click on this, and you get to a document or page where it gives you detailed information about syntax, create. When you see this kind of arrow marks, it means it is optional. Try to understand that syntax, because no one can remember every syntax. You have to know how to use this document. Then it's always okay. So this square brackets indicates that is an optional parameter. Whether you can specify it or not, you can just leave it there. And then you see there is a less than or greater than symbol brackets here, table type. There you got to replace the text with your own identifier or your own field name or your own technical names. Or not only technical, like there will be some parameter to be passed in there. Let's say this is like table type. So if you want to create table type as now, if you go down, you'll explain about what is it I need to specify about table type. Getting this? So table type could be, you should use a keyword either row or column. So it is a square bracket where you have to replace that keyword with row or column. You need to understand that syntax. Okay. Yeah. అంటే బేసికల్గా డిఎంఎల్లో పెద్దగా ఏమి ఉండదు. Sorry, DDL. DML is all main. So out of all this, DML would be more important. Because what I understand is in the real time, you would never create it. You will not sit and create a table Obviously, the other day you've seen when you replicate with SLT or BODS, table gets created in HANA and you want to play with the data. Majority of the case you would be dealing with DML, data manipulation statement, which will select, insert, update. If you're the next day, if you're really strong with select, that is enough. Because you mainly read, okay? So it's about select. Select is to read. So if you're really strong about select, then you can play. Yeah. Okay, this is the reference guide you can use. Yeah. See, mainly if you get into this section 2, you'll have all this notation, introduction, data types, operators. Yeah, because if you're pretty much coming with any one language, I think you should be able to pick this up easily. It should not be a problem. Okay.
So your voice is breaking very frequently.
I think from my side, I'm fine. This is fast, so. I think I'm good from my side. FiberNet is fast, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, miss. So now we're going to deal with, now we're going to learn about all, majorly focus on DDL now, which will help you about, make you familiar with creating the database or building your database. So to this, we're going to deal with all the schemas, tables, synonyms, database views, sequences, triggers, all this. Okay. So let me get connected. So this is my, I already connected my system. You're okay, right? In adding the system, connecting, you're okay. Logging in, log out. Yeah. So I'm just logging in. First one, we're going to focus on schema bus. For schema, you do not have any UI. It has to be created from the SQL editor itself. But there's another option where it create, but let's not worry on that. Yeah. Okay. So when you want to implement any write any SQL, you get to this. You look at this SQL console. You can open the console this way, or you can right click on the system and you get an option as open SQL console. Either way, you get to the SQL editor. Okay. So now this is an editor, right? And this will have properties. Now you say Windows, show view. I would like to see what properties. Now what you see down are the properties of this editor. You see this, okay, but there's some option as what is this? Auto commit. Commit is like saving. Let's say you insert some record into a table, then you got to execute a commit. Instead of executing commit always, if you say auto commit on, the commit will be done automatically. Like this, you'll have some properties of the editor. Okay, and this editor has got connection to which server? Because see, here you might be connecting to n number of systems, development, quality, production. So you have the SQL editor opened on production. You actually wanted to say delete in development. You open the editor of production, then put on add both in the production both data. Okay. So you see this will, you should be clear on this, which server and which instance you're connected. And even the properties window will tell you to which system it has been connected to. Okay, was fine. Okay, good. Now once you're fine with the edit, you can always control your preferences, the font size, all this preferences, say colors and fonts you want to edit, and then you can basically control the font, anything you want. Okay, so whether you want these row numbers, you get line numbers, whether you want those line numbers or not, you can just control the view of this editor. Okay. So now we're focusing on the first one is schema bus. Now what is schema bus? Yeah, it's a logical unit of database or logical grouping of the entire database what you want to build. Let's say HANA is a database software. మన HANA is a database అనకూడదు. HANA is a database software bus. It's a software which will enable you to build the database or to manage databases. So by using HANA database software, you have to develop a database or you have to build a database. So when you say database, it's about logic, set of tables or what all the database artifacts. Now I would like to do a logical grouping for all the database artifacts what I create. That will be a schema. HANA అనేది database. HANA is actually software which will enable you to implement databases. So I use HANA software and I would like to implement HANA database for my application. Now what I want is I would like to do a logical grouping of all the database what I'm going to create, which can contain table views, all this. That will be your schema. So schema will be the logical database what you do. You can understand like something like say HANA server is a big box and HANA has smaller chunks within that, smaller partitions within the software. Okay. Now how do I create? Now you remember, look at this. If I say log out and when I say log on, with which user am I connecting? System user. Okay. If I just say 9QX hybrid. Okay. I'm saying create. Now look at the syntax here. Create schema and name of the schema. You see, I've put my name of the schema in double quotes. I put my name of the schema in double quotes, not mandatory. Not mandatory. Okay. So now from BW plus you can refer this as a technical name of the object. Or for normal non-SAP you can refer this as identifier. This is the name of the object. Okay. Now what I prefer is whenever you're referring to the name of the object, you can put that in double quotes or without double quotes, but double quotes become mandatory when I have some special character. Like say I want my schema name as 9QX space SQL. So in this case, what it is going to do is it is going to treat this 9QX as a different word and this SQL as a different word. In that case, I would say enclose them with double quotes. So when you want to go with an identifier with some special characters, double quotes, you have to enclose them with double quotes. If there is no special character, you don't need double quotes. Even though there is no special character, you can still enclose them with double quotes. So what I would like to say is, make a practice whether it's got special character or not. Make a practice to enclose them with double quotes. Whenever you're referring to identifier, object name, schema name, table name, view name, anything it is, any of the technical name of the objects, always enclose them with double quotes. Make that as a practice. ఎందుకంటే స్పెషల్ క్యారెక్టర్ ఉందా లేదని అదే చూసుకుంటాడు మనకు సంబంధం లేదు, ఉన్నప్పుడు ఏంది లేనప్పుడు ఏం సంబంధం లేదు, అన్నిటికీ డబుల్ కోట్స్ పెట్టే మేక్ ఇట్ ప్రాక్టీస్. So this is the name of the schema. I space ఏమొద్దు, but I wanted 9QX SQL is my schema. So if I just now you might have a lot of statements in this editor. You might have to want execute only one particular statement. Just select this and click on this. What is it? F8. Just select the statement what you would like to execute and then execute the statement F8. And every line should end with the semicolon. SQL is important because you're going to write only one statement. Since you're going to execute only one statement, you don't have to really worry about semicolon. But when you get onto SQL scripting, means extension towards SQL will be scripting. So where you're going to write some set of lines of code. So then, since you're going to have multiple lines, to differentiate each line, you're going to end up with what? So in ABAP, you end with dot, period, here you end with semicolon. But since you're just executing statement by statement, you don't have to end with the semicolon, not mandatory. But always make a practice. So I'm just selecting this and executing this. That's it. So this statement will create a schema for you. With the name as what? 9QX SQL is the schema. Now who is the owner of the schema? Yeah. So if I don't specify anything, by default I have logged into my HANA server with username as system and I've created my schema. So obviously the system user will be the owner of that scheme. So if you just say create schema name, it creates a schema and the schema will be owned by the person with which user you have logged in. If I log in with system user and say create schema name, system user will be the owner of that schema and he can grant access to others. Okay, boss? So I'm just saying. Log out, login అయినా కదా ఎత్తిపోయినట్టు. Yeah, see. After open, I've just logged in, logged off, so there's no connection to the database. So I'll just select this and say execute. So it automatically, where should you find your database artifacts? Catalog. Chala unnai, so I would like to filter. So this is my schema. It'll have all the it'll have different type of objects organized by folders, but there will be no object yet. No table, no trigger, no views, nothing, because we just create schema. There's no objects within that yet. So since he is the owner, he is able to see that schema. He's got access. See, you will not get to see every schema. You'll be getting to see only schema for which you have access to. Okay. Now look at this. Got this point? This is about how do we create a schema. So, but if you just say create schema name, it will be by default owned by the person who is creating it. Since I've logged in with system user and I created, system user will be the owner of that scheme and he can grant access to others. Okay, this is one way of creating a scheme. Okay. Now one more point. See, in HANA you can create user like this. Any other applications, like any other software, even HANA has got flexibility of creating a new user or changing user or all this stuff. You can have user administration done here. The major point now is every time you create an user, it creates a schema with that username and there will be a schema for that particular user. He can do anything he wants. He will be the owner of it. Every time you create a new user in HANA, okay, it automatically creates a schema with that username. And that user will have access to that schema and he can do anything you want on that. Now, for example, so I'm going to say select user. I'm going to create a new user in HANA. Right click, say what? New user. 9 user cubics. User 9 cubics. And I'm giving some password. Okay. I have not given any authorization. I have not given any privileges here. Just say, just give username, password, it's active. Is my user created was? Yes. What is username? U9 cubics. Okay. So I already have a system. Now I would like to connect to the same server with a different user now. U9 cubics. Okay. So either I can say right click, if I know the server all this, I can say add system, then give server name, host name, say next. When I say next, I'll give username as what? U9 cubics. Instead of adding it again, what I can do, I can just select the same system and say right click, add the same system but with a different user. I can still say add system and then give the server details, say next and then give user. Instead of doing all this, I can say connect to the same system but with what? With a different user. Now it will ask me the username and password. What was ours? U9 cubics. Okay. First time when you log in, it will ask you for the change of the password. Now the user, I've logged in with this user. Now when I log in with this user, and when I get to catalog, do I see a schema with this name, U9 cubics? Did you create it? No. So whenever you create a new user in HANA, it automatically creates a schema with the same username and that schema is associated with that user. Because now say for example, now I go to system user now, and if I go in and I try to search for a schema, what is it? U9 cubics. Will I be able to see this? No. Why? The owner of, because system user does not have access to that schema. I just created a user. It had created a schema which has been accessed only by U9 cubics user only. So system user does not have that access. Got this? Now I would like to grant access to system user on this schema U9 cubics. I would like to grant access on this schema to what? To system user. Who can grant? Who is the owner? ఎవరైతే owner వాట్ ఇస్తాడు అంతే కదా వేరే వాళ్ళకి. So U9 cubics, since he is the owner of the schema U9 cubics, he can grant access on that schema to others. Okay, I can grant this through SQL. I can just say, see, now I'm going to select this system and say connect. Now the editor is on which user? So when I'm writing something, this is the statement what we write here is getting executed by which user bus? U9 cubics. So I can, from U9 I can say grant the access to that schema, so on, so I can write. So I can write an SQL statement for granting it, or we can also do with UI also. In the U9, we can do the authorizations. Normal SQL this. Now U9 cubics is saying what? Grant. Now what? See, on a schema you can do a lot of things. Select, execute, drop, delete, create any. You'll have different kind of parameters what they can do. But I'm just allowing my system user to just say what? Only select, only read. You can only read data from that schema, nothing else. So select, grant select on schema. Which schema? U9 cubics. Since it is an identifier, I'm putting that in what? Double quotes. To who is the user? To system. Now once this is fine. If I want to grant access to, I need to grant select access to system user and also allow system user to give it to others also if required. So I'll say what? With grant option. So I've granted it. Now once I've granted this select authorizations on this schema to system user, you should be able to see that now. Now does he start seeing that schema? Now he cannot do anything on this schema now. If he tries to create a new table, create అయిపోయింది. But actually he is not supposed to create. He should be able to see only read. That's okay. So like this we can grant it out. Okay. So this next option is, let's say I have logged in with which user here? System user. So I've logged in with system user. If I just say create schema, so I'll have access to that schema. I am connected to HANA server with system user, but I would like to create a schema which will be owned by a different person. He will not be the owner. If I just don't say anything, by default I will be the owner. System user will be the owner. I have logged in as system user and I would like to create schema which will be owned by a different person. Then I'll say what? Create a schema and some name owned by what? Any username you want. I want this to be given to U9 cubics. So I've logged in as a system user and I'm creating a schema which has to be owned by a different user. If I just say create schema, that will be owned by me. But I want that to be owned by a U9 cubics. Select this. Now once that is created, if you go to U9 cubics, he is the owner, right? You'll see that schema. 9 cubics SQL 9. But when I get to actually system user created it, but will you find that? Actually system user created it, but he is not able to see. Why? He has created a schema and assigned that for a different person. So that's how you say what? Owned by different. Who create schema he'll be the owner. But if I'm trying to create, but I want to make it another person as owner, then it'll say what? Owned by this person. Clear on this? Hmm. Okay. So this is about creating schema. Okay. Next one, let's focus on once we have the schema, which is a logical grouping of your database. Under this schema, we can start creating all your database objects. Mandar, this call. What was it? 9. So I'm going to use this schema for us. Okay. 9 cubex SQL, and I don't have any database objects till now. I'm going to start creating my table. Good. Do you know what is table? Everyone knows, right? Any database, ultimately you have to store data in form of table, but only when it comes here, when it comes to HANA, you'll have two types of tables, row store and columns. Otherwise, but ultimately, what you see is a table. That's it. Whether it is row or column, what you see is table itself. But the internal mechanism of managing the table is different. If it is row, it is stored and managed differently. If it is column store, it is stored and managed differently. That's it. But for you, it's always a table, whether it is row store or column store, for you, it's always a table, but it only differs in the mechanism, how it is handled internally. For you, it's always a table. So table is a main object or only object which will store data persistently. Data physical data store is main, either row or columns. Okay. So when it comes to creating a table, you have two options. One is you can create with UI, you can create with SQL. But when you create with UI, some flexibilities are not available. You may not have all the flexibilities, all the options. But when you go with SQL, you have all the options. Chinna options would ఉంటాయి. But majority case, you can create your table here and you can alter for smaller options. You can create table with UI. Then you can use alter table and then you alter all the small properties if required. Okay. So we'll see both case. So when expand tables, I see nothing. There's no table yet. Yeah. So I can either I can right click on the schema here and say I get an option as what? We can create a table with UI, a screen, dialog box, or we can create with SQL, DDL statement also, create table statement also. So first UI, now right click on the schema, you get option as new table, or on the tables folder, you can just right click on this and then you get option. In the context window of this tables folder, you get this option, new table. Either way, yeah. It's a new table. You can minimize this box. నేను చెప్పేది ఏం లేదు అడుగుతుంది ఏం చేయంటే what it asks me? Name of the table, technical name of the table if you refer, or you can say actual object name. You want to create some table, what is the object name you want? Yeah. So I'll go with something. I'll say UI, EMP, something. I want to go with simple table here. And then what is here? It says, in which scheme, always, whenever you refer a database object, it must be always be qualified with the schema name, always. Let's say, because if you say read data from this table, the first question then a schema table. Because whenever I got to refer some database object, it must be qualified by the schema name. So it will ask me, so I want to create a table, okay, but you want this table to be created in which schema? 9 cubex SQL. Then here you have type of table, whether you want to create a row store or whether you want to create a column store or table type. We'll discuss on table type later. That is more like a, in ABAP you create your own table type structures and then use it for creating internal tables or type table type. Table type will not store any data. That's only for structure definition only. Yeah. Now we won't mainly deal with row store or column store. Now you know what is row store and what is column store now. Row store will store data in continuous memory locations. Column store will store data, each column is stored in one continuous memory location. And compression, integer coding, you know all this now. So I'm preferring what? But for you, you don't find any difference. Either you choose option as row store or column store, you don't find any difference in creating a table or in manipulating a table. You don't find any difference. the difference is all in the internal mechanism how the table is handled. That's it. నీకు మాత్రం నార్మల్ టేబుల్ గానే ఉంటుంది, నీకేం పెద్ద తేడా కనపడదు. దాని మీద సెలెక్ట్ కొడతావు, దీని మీద సెలెక్ట్ కొడతావు, తేడా ఏమి ఉండదు అన్నట్టు. లోపల మెకానిజం ఫాస్ట్ ఉంటుంది, ఏదని కాలం అంతే, అంతవరకే. ఓకే బస్. సో అది నీకు కనపడదు అదంతా. నిజంగా టేబుల్ డూప్లికేట్ ఉందనుకో, కాలం స్టోర్ లోపల డూప్లికేట్ పెట్టుకోకుండా నీకు చూపించాల్సింది మాత్రం డూప్లికేట్ చూపించాల్సిందే. అర్థమైందా? Okay, now got to specify the columns. I am saying EMP ID. Yeah, this is with the data types used. Now varchar, the idea undal varchar alphanumerics or n varchar alphanumerics integer, integer, tiny int, small int, big int, any integer le bit combination is different. 8 bit is 4 bit to 8 bit to 16 bit to 32. Tiny int is 4 bit and integer is 8 bit. And then sorry, tiny int is 4 bit, small int is 8 bit, and integer is 16 bit, and big int is 32 bit. Yeah, bit ante endante, for example, if I say tiny int bit anukunna, how many bits did I say? 4 bit. 4 bit ante ela artham chesukolla. So see, inside the computer and hardware, it always represents everything with bit. Bit ante 1 0 ante. Okay. 4 bit అనుకో 4 బిట్స్ ఉండొచ్చు. బిట్ 1, బిట్ 2, బిట్ 3, బిట్ 4. సో when I say 4 bit అనుకో, it can represent, it is trying to represent a value with 4 bit combinations. By using 4 bits, it is trying to represent the value. For example, I said tiny integer is 4 bit కదా. By using this combination of 4 bits, it is going to represent one number. Okay, bit etla any combination out 0 0 0 0, right? లేకపోతే 1 1 1 1 ఇదో కాంబినేషన్ పెట్టొచ్చు. 1 ఇది 0 0 0 0, ఇది this one 0 1 and then 0 0. You can go with all lots of combinations like this. Okay, and each bit combination like this, I'll say if it is all zeros, I'll represent one number as 1. If it is all ones, I'll represent one number as 2. If it is 1 and 000, I'll represent the number as 3. Atla. It does use those 4 bit combinations and will represent one number. So my question is, if we have 4 bits here and if you can create lot of combinations and permutations, how many maximum number of combinations patterns can you create with this 4 bit combinations? So it's a 2 power 4. So it will be like 2 into 2 into 2 into 2. 16. Yeah. and it will be plus 16 and minus 16. It leaves 1 and so minus 2 power 4 to till positive 2 power 4. Sorry, the 4 bit కాదు, 8 bit. Sorry, 8 bit అంటే ఏమైంది, 2 power 8 అవుతుంది. Okay, 2 power 8 will be 256 something. So it will be 256 వస్తే it will be minus 2 power 8 to positive 2 power 8. Minus 2 power 8 లో ఒకటి తగ్గుతుంది. సరే, పాజిటివ్ లో ఒకటి తగ్గుతుంది ఎందుకంటే 0 వస్తుంది కాబట్టి అంతే. So if you can go look at this, what is your PDF? What is this here? Data types. Numeric data types. Tiny data store. What is? It's 8 bit and the minimum value is what? 0 and max value is what? 255. Okay, 0 on the go to 2 power 8 is 256. So it is atla. So you can go through this information here. Okay. Similarly, they've explained all the data types there. Timestamp. See, this is for real, float, decimal will be all double. Will be all about numeric values. Date, time, timestamp, binary, alphanumeric, var binary. We've got enclub, blob, club. When you want to store huge set, like you want to store PDF file itself, or you want to store the complete file itself into then you can use club or blob, big text. Yeah. Or we also have short text and long text. This can hold like string data, very big text. But when you say short text, you basically specify how much length you want. Even it holds long text, you got to specify the length. But in text, you don't specify any length, it could take any length. And blob will can hold complete binary data which holds PDF file itself into it or image files you can bring it into it. And we got something ST point geometry. When you want to store geocadastic information, then you go with ST point and ST geometry. Okay. Now what is the table type did I select here? Column store. If I select row store, in the data same కొన్ని లేవు రెండు మూడు పోయినా కానీ ఆల్మోస్ట్ ఐ సీ సేమ్ సెట్ ఆఫ్ డేట్ సో but internally for column store it does use different data types, for row store it does use different data. For you there's no difference. When you are creating a table you would use the same set of data types either for row or column, but internally it does convert those into respect to column store data, specific data types. నువ్వే మార్చు దానికి ఎట్లా how do you know, where do I know for which data type what is the corresponding data type in column store? When you go to these references here, when you go to data types, you can see information about all the data like blob, all this date format. Student also just go through that. Here, the option what is mapping between SQL data type and what column store data type. If you go, what is equivalent to? But for you, this is only for information. When you're really creating a table, you'll not really worry about this because it's the same set of data types you use whether you're creating a row store or column store. If you just get into this menu, if it is tiny int or small int or big, this in the column store it represents this with what data type? CS int. If it is big int, it represents with what? CS fixed. If it is float or double, this is normal data type. This is column store specific data types internally what does use. అది గుర్తుపెట్టుకున్న ఒకటే పెట్టుకోకూడదు ఎందుకంటే అది గుర్తుపెట్టుకోవాల్సిన సిస్టమ్ మనంగా because you will just create table with only these data types. Internally you have remember there are two relational engines, one is row store engine and column store engine. Column store engine when it's trying to manipulate the column store table will convert these data types, the normal SQL type data types to what column store specific data and manage that column store table. Okay boss? I'm okay with integer and I want this as primary key, just enable this, and it cannot be null because it's a primary key, and you can specify some default value of the table or you can also specify some comment like description, employee number, add I want it as varchar 20. I don't want that as primary key, I just want some name. But here, see, we see in normal SC11 when you create your tables, you would refer that as descriptions, right? But here we would refer them as comments. You would refer them as comments. And then say, we'll deal this later, further properties and there's some runtime information available. Just say activate. But when activate, internally it is actually doing what? Even when I'm trying to create a table with UI, internally it is actually formulating based on the properties what I specify. It is actually formulating a SQL statement and executing it. Right? So it is basically create two things. One is create row table in row betna, okay. Create row table. And then it is actually used one more statement about what? Comment on column. Actually creating a table is different concept. Descriptions you made it, right? That is a different SQL statement. Comment on. This is about creating a table was. Okay. So once you create the table, I should be able to find this here. I see this table. Right click on this table, you can say open definition. Okay, when you this is where you can see this is about definitions, you're trying to see the definition. This is a table name and schema, table type, and there's some two columns in it. And let's say I want to edit this table. I forgot to add one more column, employee designation. I want to edit. How do I edit that? Select this table name, right click, and you use option as what? Edit. It's like, so now when you say editing the database object definition, which statement I am using now? Actually, SQL statement is alter, right? But see, I am able to change this table type. By using alter statement, I can change. In the UI, you don't have that option. There are some options which is not available in UI, but ultimately we can achieve that with SQL. Let's add something and then have save it. Add to it. See what student it is executed now? Alt. Okay, was fine. Say I already have a table. Do I have an option like say right click, copy, and again paste so that I can create a copy paste into that. It's not like right click, copy paste to create a copy of the table. With UI, I cannot create a copy of an existing table, but I can use an SQL statement to create a copy of the existing. I'll say create table so and so like the table, or create table so and so. I can use some sub select to create that. I can do that. Okay. One more information. If you open the definition of this table, this tab code, what is this? Runtime information. This will tell you majority of the information on the table. It says how much is total memory consumed by this table. How many number of entries? Entries number of records in the. I know there is 0 records. And what is the size in the disk? Because you remember, HANA is in memory. It will store data in main memory as well as in disk also. So what is the size occupied by this table in the disk, and what is the size occupied by this in memory bus? ఇది రో స్టోర్ కదా, నీకు పెద్ద యూజ్ ఉండదు. So I'm showing you how do I change this table type from row to column. Alter table. Which table you want to alter? I'll come back to this statement later, but now. So I say I would like to alter this table. What alteration? I wanted to alter the type as what? Column. That's it. Would it symbol do it in the? You see symbol like this that indicates row store. If you see symbol vertical lines, then that indicates column store. Now if you see the definition, you see it as what now? Column store. Okay. Now go. What is it? Now go to the runtime info. At a column store, get the information. I want to show that screen. You see memory occupied, how much? Size in the disk, number of entries. Within this memory, can know what is this? Look at this. You know what is main store? I told you every time you create a column store table, it will have 2 storages in the backend. One is main and delta. Delta is optimized for writing and main is optimized for reading. So every time you write, it does write data into what? Delta. Asynchronously, when the merging is done, it reads data from delta and writes it to what? Main. Okay. And here you see, and like in BW, how you create partitions. It's a general database concept where you can do partitioning of the table also. We'll see about we'll have hash partitioning, we'll have range partitioning, round robin partitioning. We'll have multiple ways of doing it, or we can also have multi-level partitioning also. First I do hash partitioning. Again, within each hash partitioning, I can have range partitioning. I can have multi-level partitioning. And this block will actually show you information about all the partitions, if there are any. But as of now, this table does not have any partitioning yet. But if there is a partitioning, it does show you information about that. I'll come to the topic separately, partitioning. Okay, boss? Yeah.
The estimated maximum memory consumption 47%.
I think the data is better. As in the date, as and when you keep increasing the records, it keeps increasing. Okay. So like this, you can create with UI boss. So I can also create with SQL also. If you don't know SQL, the simple option they tell you is they ask you to go to the definition. Then they right click on this table and say what? What does it say? Export SQL. So for whatever the database object you're seeing, it does export me an SQL step, complete SQL for me. See, unload priority ఏం చేసుకుంది 5 auto merge అవన్నీ నా కంట్రోల్ లేకునింది. I never had that control when I was creating a table, whether automate HANA, AFA, lazy, because it was with UI. When you create with UI, by default, automate is enabled. At control JLM. By default, unload priority is what? 5. Then later I'll have to use alter statement and alter those to switch off automats or unload, change unload priority, all those. You can get this out like that. I just want to show you creating simple table. You can select this, right click and SQL console. And let's say you type in some SQL statement, you want to comment it, then it will be a double hyphen. Hyphen and slash hyphen. Okay. We'll have enter. Right. Hyphen. Okay. Okay, boss. Dash enter, minus enter. Yeah. Right. Boss. Now this is the syntax of simple. I'm not going with the extensive syntax as of now. Saying create. Okay. నాకు తెలియదు ఎలా రాయాలో సింటాక్స్ నేనేం చేస్తాను ఐ గో ఇంటూ వాట్ గైడ్ వాడాలి గైడ్ వాడి నేర్చుకుంటే చాలు ఎప్పుడైనా వాడుకోవచ్చు ఓకే సో ఐ గెట్ ఇంటూ సీక్వెల్ స్టేట్మెంట్స్ I click on reference and then I click on what SQL statements. Out of this, what is it you want to deal with? Data definition language statements. Out of this, which one do you want to deal with? You have create table. What is one? Create table. Good. I'll go and I never knew what should be the syntax of creating a table. So how do I learn from this? Okay. Syntax tells me what does it says? I should have create. Okay. I should have create. Then next is what? What it tells me? Table type. So that's where I choose that is optional, but I still want to make sure I use that option. Table type at page number 290 kilometer. You could elevate along. So see table getting this. Correct but the syntax easier name. DDL statements. I want to go with what? Create table. I want to create. So first, it is fixed. You have to use this create. So I typed in create. Okay. Next, it says table type. The page number good 289. Okay. What it says? Table type. As optional. Table type. You could specify, but I would like to be explicit. I would like to specify some type of table what I want. Okay. So ఈ టేబుల్ టైప్ కిందకి వస్తే టేబుల్ టైప్ అంటే ఏమి ఇవ్వాలి సరే టేబుల్ టైప్ వాళ్ళు ఉన్నావు ఆ టేబుల్ టైప్ పదం ప్లేస్లో ఏం వాల్యూస్ పెట్టవచ్చు నువ్వు ఓకే క్లిక్ ఆన్ దిస్ వర్డ్ పేజ్ 290 చూడు ఈ టేబుల్ టైప్ అనే కీవర్డ్ని యూ కెన్ రిప్లేస్ విత్ ఎయిదర్ ఆఫ్ దిస్ వర్డ్ when you creating the syntax of creating a table you have a parameter called table type. The parameter table type can be replaced with either of these values. What it says? Column, row, history column, global temporary column, local temporary column. ఇప్పుడు నెక్స్ట్ క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే రో పెడితే ఏమవుతుంది కాలం పెడితే ఏమవుతుంది అవును కదా కింద చదవాలి రో ఈజ్ వాట్ కాలం ఈజ్ వాట్ హిస్టరీ కాలం ఈజ్ వాట్ గ్లోబల్ టెంపరీ ఈజ్ వాట్ యూ గో డౌన్ ఇది సో యూ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ పేషెన్స్ చదవాలి యూ షుడ్ రీడ్ అంటే చెప్తా కొద్దిగా అన్ని చదవాలి బట్ you should have the habit of reading. It is important. Okay. Sir. So table type I've defined. From there I decided that I'm going to have it as keyword as what? Create తర్వాత C value column. Okay. Then ఇది fixed keyword again. Table. Okay. Then what? Table name. So that is another parameter what I should pass. నీకు తెలుసు అనుకో సింపుల్ నీళ్ళు అనుకో టేబుల్ నేమ్ దట్స్ నథింగ్ బట్ ఐడెంటిఫైర్ name of the table. But whenever let's say my table name is SQL EMP, that's my table name I want. Okay. But whenever I refer to table, should I qualify that with the schema name? Should I specify? Yeah. I want it 9 cubics SQL. So schema name dot table. Schema name table name must. I'm not must. If there are no special characters, I don't need double quotes to be enclosed, but if it's, but make sure you enclose with double quotes from now. Then it what? Next is table content source. Now go down. What is table content source? In the table content source, you should specify the table element. It could be table elements or like operator by specifying another table, or you can have what? List of column names. Column name 1, column name 2. Either టేబుల్ ఎలిమెంట్ పెట్టొచ్చు, లైక్ పెట్టి ఇంకో టేబుల్ క్లాస్ ఇవ్వచ్చు, అట్లా ఏదైనా వాడచ్చు. ఇది మెయిన్ మన కాలం లిస్ట్. ఆర్ వీ కెన్ ఆల్సో గో విత్ యాజ్ సబ్ స్టేట్మెంట్ పెట్టి సబ్ క్వెరీ కూడా వాడుకోవచ్చు. డిపెండ్స్ ఆన్ నువ్వు కింద చదివితే మళ్ళీ ఒక టేబుల్ లైక్ ఏంది అదేందో చెప్తాడు. So I'm going to go with the columns list. Okay. Since I'm going to have multiple columns, I'm going to specify that in parentheses, like say column 1, and then మళ్ళీ ఆ కాలం ఎలా చెప్పాలి, మళ్ళీ ఆ డెప్త్ వెళ్ళి హెల్ప్ లో చెప్పింటాడు. కాలం 1 and then date type. What is that you want? I want tiny int. Okay. I want this column to be primary key. I can specify it here, primary key, and I want this to be not null key. This cannot be blank. And then I want column 2. See column name is also identified, so I'm putting that in double quotes. Varchar 20. That's enough. You'll put comma only for separating all, but not you'll not put the comma for the last column. No. That's it. And then I end with semicolon. You have lots of options. While creating table, you want to say auto merge option ela undali. See the other parameters like auto merge, partitioning class, unloading priority, schema flexible option, unused retention option, global temporary option. We'll have to see that to be more strong into this state. Okay. But for now, just select this. So I'm going to use this statement. So I've copied it from there. Create column tables, schema, table name with these two columns. Select this and say what? Execute. Now you should see the table created. SQL, EMP. If I see the definition, so the table name, columns, and table type is column and then schema. Okay, this is how you can create a table. And look, what is primary key in this? Column 1. Because you specified it as for column 1, you say primary key, not that because of primary. Same if you want to create a row store table, okay? Instead of using column, you will say what? Row. Sorry. What is your schema? 9 cubics. So this is the row table, okay? But the question is, did I tell you this is optional? Yes or no? Specifying whether you want it as row store or column store is optional. So if I don't specify anything, whether column store or row store, what type of table does it create? Column store or row store? Symbol do చెప్పలేదు. So if you don't specify anything, by default it's going to be what? Row store. Okay. So now we can't leave that option blank, because whenever you want, because measure 99.99% you need column store. So every time I want, you have to use that parameter. Almost it becomes mandatory now. Say create column tables. Clear? Okay. So like this, you can create some table. Okay. In this table content source, did he also tell you like you can use as or like? Yeah. Well, let's touch that. Okay, boss. So for what I'm trying to do is, first I'm just trying to create some simple table with employee ID and employee name, and then we'll come to the insert. Why do we use insert statement? When you want to insert data into the table. So I'm just creating and inserting. And since the editor would have auto commit switched on, the commit is done automatically. So this is my table, EMP base. This is my table. I can see the definition of the table this way. I can see the runtime information, which tells me that there are how many records? 3 records. Now majority of the space is in delta or main?
Delta.
And data I don't know to delta. So when you do merging, then data will go from delta to main. ఇప్పుడు మేనేటర్ కాదు చూడాలంటే just I can show you. Right click. This what is here? Perform delta merge. ఇప్పుడు మనం కొట్టేది ఫోర్త్ మర్జ్ అంటే ఏ సంబంధం లేకుండా కొడతాను అంటే ఖచ్చితంగా జరగాల్సిందే. Now what has happened? Now it has increased memory size in main and reduced అంటే అర్థం ఇక్కడ నుంచి అక్కడికి వెళ్ళిపోయింది అంత డేటా. Okay, అది సంబంధం లేదు, but that's you can see it. And right click, and I would like to see the content of this table. Right click on this table and say either we can say right click open content this way, but in this way it only shows you max how many 1000 records only, not more, and shows me this data. And other ways you can also right click and you can open definition go to even from the here you can right click and show what content. Either way it also shows 1000 on the same. The other option, right click open data preview. Here you will have option of seeing more data, and you can see raw data like this. We can see distinct. I want to see employee names. Pratap has got 3 names. Or employee is, if you want to see employee is, there are 3 values 1, 2, 3. Each one has got one record. Profiling of data can be done here. This is not for end users. This is for all, for a developer, not for end users. This is, you can see profiling. Oko value any sarlo vachindi enta percentage data. In the analysis also you can do some kind of reporting but you can bring in table format, chart format, grid. This is all for end user. This is a report user end user gaadu manaki. For us to test my data, that's validate my data. Okay, I have the table. So now what I would like to create another table which is copy of this. So I would like to create another table which is exactly copy of this table. What is the table? EMP. I already have a table called EMP base, and there is already data in it, and I would like to create another table which is copy of this table EMP base. Okay. And with UI editor, you don't have the option of like or using this. Yeah. I would like to use this condition. What I'm using? Create column table and my table name. After specifying table, you can either give column list or you can use like operator and different help syntax. I'm using like table, another table which is already there. I already have a table called EMP base. Now I'm trying to create a table called EMP with no data, which is similar to this EMP base by using like operator. Now basically there's already table A. Now I'm trying to create a B which is copy of A. That's it. But when I try to create a copy of A by using like operator, no data is copied. Only structure. By default, only structure comes in.
Sir, one small doubt.
One second. Let me just finish this. Now it comes. What is EMP with no data? Right? Now look at this. Do you have any data in this table? But it has got the structure, employee ID and employee name structures coming. Well, next question is now. So when I use like operator, does it only copy structure or can I get data also? We can also get data by using extra syntax saying with the data. If I create column table so and so like so and so table, if I use this keyword extra saying with data, then now when I use a like operator, it creates a copy table and also the data is moved. Data is also copied. Along with the data, it creates a copy of this table. Yeah. Create column table so and so like this with the data. So generally by default, like operator does not copy data. But when I use like operator, if I use extra option of with the data, it copies along with the data also. Okay, what's done? Anthem. If she is trying to create a table which is similar to another table of different scheme, it's schema name markunante. So this is with now I've got a table with the data now. I've copied a table with the data by using like operator by using the extra keyword as with the data. Very very important. Intro discuss left. Okay. అంటే జనరల్ బాగా రిక్వైర్డ్ ఇలా ఉంటాయి ఇంపార్టెంట్ అంటే టేబుల్ ఆల్రెడీ రెప్లికేట్ అయిపోయింది అలాంటి ఇంకోటి కావాలా అని ఉంటుంది ఎక్కువ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ అందుకు అడుగుతాడు నెక్స్ట్ ఇస్ by using select table subquery as see now I already this simple select statement, right? I already have this table, right? EMP base. If I just execute this query alone, what is select star from table? Select star from table, it gives me all columns, all data from this is the result of this query. Select star from this table. Now I would like to use the result of this statement and use it to build another table. ఒక సెలెక్ట్ స్టేట్మెంట్ ద్వారా వచ్చిన రిజల్ట్ బేస్ చేసుకుని ఒక టేబుల్ క్రియేట్ చేయాలి. దట్ ఈస్ లైక్ క్రియేటింగ్ ఎ టేబుల్ బై యూజింగ్ సెలెక్ట్ సబ్ సెలెక్ట్ ఆర్ సబ్ సెలెక్ట్ స్టేట్మెంట్ సబ్ క్వెరీ. So now I'm saying create column table. Okay, here I use keyword as what? As create column table so and so as what? As this definition, as select star from this table. So first it executes the select statement. Based on the result set of this select statement, it creates my tables. So when it is going to create the table with the result set, when you use subquery like this, it is going to create with the data by default. Now when I select this and execute this, create column table so and so as the result of this select statement, as a result of this sentence, so it executes the select statement first, takes the result set of this select and creates your tables and execute. And now what is the table name? Employee with data sub. So I never said with data or without database. By default, when it uses subquery, automatically it is created with the database. Automatically with data. Now let's say now this time I have a different requirement. I am creating a table based on the select sub-select, but I want it to create without database. Same ikkade I'll extend saying with no data and extend as safe. The reverse all on there. Yeah. Create column table so and so as select star. Till here it is normal subselect, but by default it copies along with the data. But if you want explicit control saying with no, if I use this keyword with no data, then no data come. Akkada likely default data రాదు, కావాలంటే with data పెట్టాలి. Subselected default data is copied, it copies along with the data. But if you don't want the data to be copied, then you say what? With no data, reverse something. Okay, so like this you can create a table and the stuff here.
కొన్ని కాలమ్స్ కావాలన్నా స్పెసిఫిక్ చేస్తారు మాత్రం ఎక్స్ట్రాక్ట్ చేస్తారు
అంతే. Is saying instead of saying star, let's say my tables were 100 columns, but I actually wanted to create a copy table with only 50 columns, then again అలాంటప్పుడు ఇది వాడాలి actually. Next, every table would have primary key and foreign key. You know what primary key is? What? It's a single column or set of columns which maintains uniqueness throughout every row of a table. And foreign key is what? When a primary key of one table takes for another table, that becomes foreign key. Ante reference. Can we copy a table in new user? Ante?
schema.
Schema, yeah. Mm. Where all this? See, there is already a schema called Cubex SQL with a table called what? Customer. Let's say I want to create a copy of this one into my own schema. This is my table name.
Dot.
Yes. And even for things what you asked, నాకు అన్ని కాలమ్స్ వద్దు. కస్టమర్ ఐడి, సిటీ ఐడి, చాలు. యాడ్ ప్యాకెట్. A semicolon should be only at the last statement. So I get this table with only the definition of this, 2 columns, and look at it. Okay, so I can also create a copy table from a table she asked from a different scheme possible. See, as long as you have access to that scheme of this, that's important.
Suppose if there are more than 1,000 data counts, if you can extract, the maximum limit is 1,000 you said, right?
Number of columns, huh? See, now he wants to know what is the maximum number of columns in a table. Okay, 1,000 correct, but ently good if you go to the SQL reference, yeah, there's something called restrictions for SQL statements. If you just get into this, database size, number of rows in one row store. Okay. See, here it tells me length of an alliance or table name length. What is maximum length name? See identifier. Identifier and length. What is the max length of a table name? You're giving a table name of the table. Max is 127. And what is maximum length of a column name? You got a lot of column names, right? Employee number name. A column name identifier. Identifier length is what? 120. So name of a table or name of a column of a table is max 127. And what is the number of columns? Number of columns in a table is what? So this is a restriction. It actually a systems restriction కనపడాలి ఇవన్నీ ఆడ చూపిలస్ మన కాన్ఫిగరేషన్ లో. Max is 1000. And next you ask me what is size of a table max అంటే ఎంత డేటా పెట్టొచ్చు, ఎంత మెమరీ పెట్టొచ్చు. ఇక్కడ 2 TB అని ఒకటి ఉండాలి.
Download last.
ఇక్కడ అది number of rows in each table. So in one table, how many maximum number of rows you can hold? Limited size like 1 TB size of under one row size should be 1 TB max. Number of rows it's first time each row can hold up to size of 1 TB, and and you can go with maximum number of partitions to power of 31 into number of partitions. And actually the limitation holds good for each partition. Even if I say each table size is 2 TB anko, if I have 4 partitions it will be 2 TB into 4, because the limitation goes to each partition. Andukante 2 power 31, okay, into number of partitions, that will be size. Okay, clear on this? Okay, 1 TB per size of the row. Directly it's even directly will be 2 TB per table size per partition almost. Number of primary key columns in a table is what? 60. Okay, boss. Number of primary key columns in each column store table. What is this? 1000. Okay, was fine. Index okay. You can see all those restrictions there, limit time on the. You got you're writing SQL statement, right? Even the length of SQL statement is also limited, 2 GB only. Okay, boss. Okay. You're dealing with primary key and foreign. Yeah. Next is so I'm just creating some table where I wanted department number to be the primary keys. So I'll say department number, not null, and what I use the keyword what primary elaborate. Okay. So select this and active. This is one way of doing it. Already seen how to write this. Another way is you could do not null పెట్టేసి because if you say primary key here, if it is single column, it is easy to specify. But if we are trying to create a table where multiple columns are primary key, then that is not the better way of doing. Comma, then say primary key, and then specify the columns. What is it? Department number and పెట్టొచ్చు ఇలా పెట్టొచ్చు. Suppose ఇంకో కాలం ఉందనుకో కామా column 2, comma column 3. You can specify multiple columns to be the primary key. అదే ఇలా ఇక్కడ రాసేవానికి if you write primary key here, అది simple, but that is make sure that is only possible if it is single column is primary key. If you want, if only that column can be scientific, but if you have a scenario where multiple columns to be referred as primary key, then use this syntax. Okay, was? Okay. So I'm creating a table called department where my department number is the primary keys. So this is the table where department number is what the primary. So when the same department number column takes part in another table, can that become foreign key and have a referential integrity between those two tables? When a primary key of one table takes part in the other table, that becomes foreign. See, I'm just creating another table called employee, where it says employee is a primary key. I've got name and I've got what? Department number. Now department number was actually a primary key of this table department, and that has been used into employee table. So with this column, I would like link up both these two tables. Okay, saying what? I just listed out all the columns, then comma, then I'm saying what? Foreign key, department number, referencing to which table? Referencing to what? Department table. Of which column in the department table? Same column name, department number. Because for primary, foreign need not be the column name. I can link up two different column names. Or link table could be with different column names also. Yeah. On delete cascade. On delete cascade, for example, if I delete an entry here, it automatically deletes the corresponding entries in the other table. ఇప్పుడు ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ ఇక్కడ నాకు డిపార్ట్మెంట్ నెంబర్ 1 సేల్స్ అని ఉంది. ఇక్కడ వచ్చేసి I've got 5 employees who belong to department number 1, that is sales. ఇక్కడ when I delete this record 1, it automatically deletes all the linked records in the other table also. అది cascade. Okay, that was fine. All the different data also will be deleted. That's the case. So I'm saying in this table, foreign key is my department number. E table lo department number is my foreign key, referencing to department number column of this table department on delete cascade. So when I delete there, it has to delete the different records in this table. You can't get, but this. Employees. So here employee is primary key. The department would be referencing to the department table. Like this, you can link up multiple tables with primary key and foreign key. Just say primary key keyword to create a primary key. Then you will say foreign key so and so references to a column in another table with on delete cascade or not. Okay, boss. So we'll stop it here, and if you have any doubts, you can ask. We'll get on to tomorrow other topics. Global, temporary. We have different types of tables. We'll have lots of syntax. Table create table is very important. We'll have lots of options within the table.
So can't we do this foreign key thing using UI?
1 second. He's asking me when I see this table, how can I don't have the linear link actually. For the setting, if you do some setting here, it shows me a department dot department number and చూపిస్తుంది. You get to see the column name as that. ఇది నాకు రివిజన్ ఓల్డ్ లేటెస్ట్ రివిజన్ అది చూపిస్తుంది ఎట్లా డిపార్ట్మెంట్ టేబుల్ నేమ్ డాట్ డిపార్ట్మెంట్ నెంబర్ అని చూపిస్తుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ a link to that table. Like in S11, how do you see link table? You get to see that link. Yeah, what is the question? Yeah.
So I was asking, as we have declared using SQL, that foreign key relationship, can't we use it doing UI?
No. In UI, you can only specify for primary key. For foreign key, can't reference in UI.
Okay.
After creating in UI, you can, if you want, you can create an alter statement to alter the definition of the constraint, primary key, foreign key constraint if you require. Okay. So there will be two things generally: cascade and restrict. Normally, when you say cascade, let's say there is object A and we have object B. B is dependent on A. Normally, when I say cascade, when I delete on cascade, when A is deleted, it automatically deletes B and then A is deleted. If you say restrict on, when I say delete A with restrict option, if A has got some different objects, if there are some objects which are dependent on A, then it will not delete. If it's a cascade, it deletes A and also its dependents also. If it's a delete with restrict, okay, if A is being used by someone else, it will not delete it at all. That's restrict.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hello, yeah.
Sir, I'm actually not from technical.
Yeah.
In this modeling, there will be a script. There will be more scripting or less.
More into the
Scripting అనేది ఎక్కువ ఉంటుందా లేకపోతే తక్కువ ఉంటుందా?
Ultimately, you cannot escape from scripting 100% sure. You have to write. Because నేను ఏదో స్క్రిప్టింగ్ అవసరం లేదు 10% స్క్రిప్టింగ్ 90% గ్రాఫికల్ అట్లా ఏమి ఉండదు. Because when you say you know database, if you say I don't know SQL, doesn't make sense. నవ్వుతారు అన్నట్టు. సో ఇప్పుడు నీకు కష్టం కాదన్న, ఐటీ కాదు, నువ్వు నాన్ ఐటీ కాదు, ఐటీ వాళ్ళకి కూడా కష్టం ఇది, నీకే కాదు. ఓకే, కంప్యూటర్ సైన్స్, ఎంటెక్ కంప్యూటర్ సైన్స్ వాళ్ళకి కూడా ఇది కష్టమే. ఏమంటే నీకు ఇది కష్టమని తెలిసిన నువ్వు ఎంత కష్టపడుతున్నావు అనేది ఇంపార్టెంట్.
ఓకే సార్, అది స్కీమ్ మనం దీంట్లో స్కీమా నేమ్ అనేది చేంజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చా సార్ ప్రతిసారి ఎనీ టైం?
ఎట్లా
ఇప్పుడు మనం న్యూ స్కీమా ఇచ్చేసి స్కీమా నేమ్ యూజర్ కొత్త స్కీమా నేమ్ అది మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి మనం మధ్యలో చేంజ్ చేసుకోవాలనుకుంటే చేంజ్ చేసుకోవచ్చు.
ఆల్రెడీ క్రియేట్ చేసిన స్కీమా పేరు మార్చలేవు, కొత్తది క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం మళ్ళీ.
ఓకే,
కొత్తది క్రియేట్ చేసి వాడుకోవాలి. రీనేమ్ ఉంటుంది, నాట్ ఫర్ అ స్కీమా, రీనేమ్ టేబుల్ ఉంటుంది. యూ హ్యావ్ ఆస్కింగ్ డు హ్యావ్ రీనేమ్ ఆప్షన్? ఎస్. Normally BW doesn't allow you to change technical name, but here we have rename option. Rename undi. If you go into this references, see, I have rename column, rename table, but not rename schema. You cannot rename a schema, but if you want, you can rename the table. So I create a table with some name. I can change the name of the table. I can change the name of a column in a table. I can change. In BW, you can't change technical name, right? But here I can change the name of the table, name of the column. I can do that. Rename is available, but not for a schema.
Maximum columns to tables in there.
99.99. Yeah, by default they get into column store, but still when you replicate it through SLT, you have an option of choosing whether you want it as row store or column, an option on that. In SLT, there's something called transformations where you can control whether it is row store or column store control.
Create statement by default column the table type defined as the row store.
By default row store.
You got allowed.
లేదు. what are the tables you're getting with BODS or different replication mechanisms, they create column store by default. ఇంకా నీకు రో కావాలంటే చెప్పాల్సి వస్తుంది అక్కడ డిఫాల్ట్ కాలం బట్ SQL లో డిఫాల్ట్ రో బట్ ది టేబుల్స్ వెన్ దే క్రియేట్ ఫ్రమ్ ది రెప్లికేషన్ మెకానిజం దే క్రియేట్ కాలమ్ స్టోర్ అప్పుడు ఇంకా రో కావాలంటే ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చెప్పాల్సి వస్తుంది బట్ బై డిఫాల్ట్ దే ఆర్ ఆల్ కాలమ్ స్టోర్. ఓకే.
Hello. Sir, one more question.
Last.
So actually we want to create one table, but the table is already present in system. How do we know? Because we don't have access to schema and all those things. How do we know?
Good question.
We need schema.
You're asking me how in the entire system how do I get to see list of all the tables what is already created. You would like to see the metadata or a standard table which will show me list of all the tables what is created. Okay. So I told you you'll have a schema called the system schema, which will have all the HANA repository tables. You have to get into a schema called what? Sys. Expand this. You see, there will be a lot of tables. But the table you may not understand the table so easily, but better get into views. There are a lot of views built on those tables to give you a lot of information. You could m underscores. You'll have a view called m underscore cs underscore tables. So there's a view called m underscore cs underscore table. You can just right click and say open content or preview. Either is I would prefer say preview. Okay. Now here you get to see all the table names. See. If you want, you can also see for your. I want to see my own schema. I can select schema, right click and say what? Add filter and equal to which schema. You can try to search say 9 and so 9 cubic SQL. Say okay, say okay, and then execute. Now it will show you all the table names which are of which schema bus 9 cubic schema. So ready-madely there is a ready-made view called m underscore cs underscore tables, which actually gives you information about all the detailed tables in the system. Okay, but if he was not asking me about view, he was asking me which table. If I'm really keen on where this information is or which table, I can right click and say open definition and get into create statement. In the back end, if you say from, if you just search for the word from, you should find that. You don't have to search, just search for the keyword from. In the m underscore is again a view. Next has actually sys table. This again another view. You have to open that view. If you get into the definitions, find a table called tables. In the word mcs underscore tables underscore. I think that is a table. Function either ఉంటుంది. But in the tables there will be a table called tables. PQRST. What is RS tables? Pretty much you will see the schema name, and you'll also see table type. Actually, those tables are not so clear to understand. That's why they have given some ready-made views. Try to touch those views to read the data. Okay, we are done. So we'll meet tomorrow again, same time. Right? Bye.